Are Dead by Daylight players ruining Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Let's talk about it. Oh, there's the cook, bro. Let's go stab him. There, he's feeding Grandpa. Look at this. The answer is quite simple, and the answer is no. It's not Dead by Daylight players that are making Texas Chainsaw Massacre competitive. It is Texas Chainsaw Massacre players that are making it competitive. They also just happen to play Dead by Daylight, and they also just happen to be very competitive. They enjoy competitive gaming, and that's it.
The game's supposed to be fun. The game's not supposed to be competitive.
All right, let me stop you for a second right there. When you make an asymmetrical horror, a game of cat and mouse, killer versus survivor, you will get a competitive aspect of the game. It is unavoidable.
Right? Like, that's not the point of the game.
Again, it might not be why you guys created the game, but there are players that are going to enjoy your game, and there are competitive players in that player base, and that is just the truth of it.
The point of the game is get in and have a blast and feel like you're living in the world of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
So what you're saying is that players that enjoy being competitive should not play Texas Chainsaw Massacre? They should not buy your game? Because me personally, I love the competitive aspect of the game. I love the competitive aspect of Dead by Daylight, but I also enjoy the casual aspect of it.
What we don't lean into is the competitive side of it, because it starts to breed a different type of player.
A different type of player? Well, you're talking about almost every single game on the planet.
It's not one that's right or wrong. It skews off of friendship sometimes. It starts to create a different atmosphere that doesn't fit into what I think the game's supposed to be.
And there we have it again, what can lead to the downfall of a lot of games, and that is not cater the game to the experience of the entirety of their player base, but the game is supposed to be enjoyed by the people buying the game. And that's not just casual players. But then again, if you're fine with that, and if you're happy about that, happy about people just leaving the game because they're not enjoying it anymore because you guys just want to eradicate the competitive aspect, that's also completely fine. It's your game.
When you watch Friday the 13th, when you watch Texas Chainsaw, you're with your homies sitting in a basement like this, eating popcorn and talking about what would you have done if you were in that situation.
And that is escape as fast and efficiently as possible. That is the truth about it. What would I have done if I was in their shoes in Texas Chainsaw Massacre? I would have found the fastest way to get the fuck out.
We make games that answer that question.
And people do the same, and they play the game how they want to play it and how they want to enjoy it.
That's the point of this. We don't make games to say, I'm better than you.
And that is perfectly fine, but you also have to consider that aspect of the player base and those type of players who also enjoy your game.
It's a vibe difference, and it's what we do at Gun, and I hope you guys appreciate those types of games. It's the kind of games that we like to play.
Now, let's be honest, the game is absolutely amazing. You guys did an absolutely banger job. I love the game. I love the competitiveness the game brings, and I love the casual experience and the whole cinematic experience that the game is providing, because the game is actually extremely well made. Because frankly, I'm kind of sick and tired of Dead by Daylight being the only asymmetrical horror aspect where I can go and enjoy being competitive and casual. We need more options. And make no mistake, I love Dead by Daylight, except for Weskers and Megmains. Now, it's not the developer's fault that the game is turning competitive right now. It is all about the community. If the community wants the game to be casual, it will be casual. If the community wants the game to be competitive, it will be competitive. But that doesn't mean that we have to eradicate one to make room for the other. The developers can actually do something about that and make it into an enjoyable game for both. Right now, how the matchmaking works in Texas Chainsaw Massacre is that you are being paired with players that are around the same level as you and the same playtime you have within the game. It's a pretty standard and safe way for new players to be matched up with new players and for veteran players to be matched against veteran players, so that there's a safe environment for both. But what every player and developer has in common is that they want the game to thrive. They want it to be around for a long time so they can enjoy it playing with their friends or playing competitive or however they wish to play the game. But what is to be done if the developers, like they say, want to keep the game casual, but the community is leaning towards the competitive aspect and want the game to be competitive? Eventually, one or the other have to cave, otherwise the game is absolutely going to crumble. And that is going to be an unfortunate event for both. Now, make no mistake, I am not talking about Dead by Daylight versus Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm also not talking about Dead by Daylight players versus Texas Chainsaw Massacre players. We're all just players playing the same game, and that game has a level of competitiveness to it, and players that wishes to be competitive and players that wishes to be casual. But obviously, as the game is in the same genre, the Dead by Daylight has been dominating for over 7 years, people are going to draw comparisons and people are going to match them up against each other. It is just normal. But what you should not do, absolutely not, is to ignore the problems. If you ignore the problems that people are pointing out just because you don't want to be compared to a certain game, that is going to be more destructive than anything else. And right now, what is happening and what we are seeing is that either from Dead by Daylight or wherever it is, it's competitive players that are trying to turn this game that you guys do not want competitive into a competitive game, and the community is very competitive right now. And this is not something you can simply hide under the rug. It is something that has to be addressed, discussed, and then figuring out a solution that will please both the player base, the community, and the developers, you guys that created this game. And why not find a solution that works for the entirety of the player base? Allow the competitive players to be competitive, allow the casual players to play casual, but separate the brackets. What about creating a ranked type of gameplay for the game? I know you guys originally didn't make the game to be competitive, but you also have to take into consideration the competitive aspect that your game brings and the player base, which is probably like 50% of your players are competitive. And you also have a mountain of field tests from different asymmetrical games, as well as Dead by Daylight, on how to cater it to both the community so that they'll all enjoy it. And you have a golden opportunity here to fix it pretty fast before it actually turns into a real problem that might even determine the success of your game. And that is perhaps to put the competitive players into a bracket for themselves. And then you have the casual players that just wants to enjoy the game with their friends, play here and there, and just want to play with people with a similar mindset and create a bracket for them. Instead of having them meet together in the middle and then create some disharmony in the game, you just separate them both and they'll both be happy. And you can cater it to the entirety of your player base.
The point of the game is get in and have a blast and feel like you're living in the world of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
And that is what everybody wants. We just want to enjoy the game the way we want to enjoy it and play it whenever we want to play it and just have fun with the game. That was it for this video. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I welcome you to discuss it down below. That's why I made this video. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to the channel. Leave a like down below. And as always, stay spooky, stay safe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.
The toolbox in the container, though.
No, I didn't mean that. I'm like, why didn't I have a bone scrap? Oh, shit. Oh, no, I didn't get them. I might be low-key fucked right now, though. Not gonna lie.